I am often asked as a director, what are things that I should look for in an early education school or elementary school? I'm going to give you the five most important things to ask when looking for a place to send your child for education, starting with five and working our way down to the most important one, number one. Let's start with number five. So, number five on our list is ask what the accreditations are for your director, assistant director, and teachers. Are they certified? Have they gone through any kind of leadership program? Do they have educational experience both in the classroom and out of the classroom behind their belt? Do they do ongoing training of at least 15 hours or more a year, 20 hours preferably for that? If they are in the classroom as a teacher, do they have a degree? Are they enrolled in a degree program? Is their degree in a child related field, such as early childhood development, elementary education, child psychology? One of those. If not, are they working towards that? When you have somebody in a leadership position, not only should they have experience, but they should also have the education behind it. And I know a lot of people would say 20 years of experience should trump a couple years of education. In theory, it would, except in the world of early education, things change quickly. From year to year, there's new strategies out, and old strategies don't work. So if you have somebody operating on an old system where they're still teaching things in the classroom that are no longer relevant or just don't matter to children anymore in their development, then it's a waste of time and actually could kind of be harmful to students. So we want to make sure that we have people that are on the cutting edge, and that can only be done if they're properly trained, properly vetted. Good question to ask to start off. The next question you want to ask is, what is the curriculum for the school? Now remember, this is going to take up a large part of your child's day. Is the curriculum a canned curriculum that can just be bought at a store? Or is this something that is developed by the teachers there? Or is it a curriculum that's proprietary to the school system itself? So for instance, a canned curriculum, it can be used just about any school. It's bought at a teaching store or from a website. And some of these can be fairly comprehensive. They're usually done by people that have degrees in curriculum development. They write them over a series of years, and they're good. The drawbacks of those are if they're not constantly being updated, then they're probably not the most effective. They probably are using some methods that might be outdated by 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and new developments have come along that made those kind of obsolete. They're also not often tailored to the individual learner. As we know, kids learn differently in the classrooms. So if everybody is trying to get kind of pigeonholed into this one particular curriculum, then that is keeping them from kind of expanding on their own learning format. Teachers writing curriculum is great. I think that's fantastic. They know their classrooms, they know the needs of their students. However, if you have a teacher that's inexperienced in writing curriculum, maybe has not taken courses in school for that, might not understand the direction and the things required that they're looking for their students, and may also not be shooting for state standards, which is important for early education and elementary school, then there might be a little bit of a delay that's going to happen in that. Again, if a teacher's been trained in all these things, they can write a fantastic curriculum, but they need to make sure that they're hitting all the points necessary for the state. Proprietary curriculums can be good based on the school. So, do they take in the needs of individual learners? Are there assessments attached to it? Because a curriculum can be taught, but if we're not understanding whether or not the child understands it, then it's probably not the most successful for the student. Another thing to consider is it teaching 21st century skills? For instance, is there a lot of STEM involvement in it? Are they teaching science and mathematics, engineering, technology, and appreciation for the arts in their curriculum? If not, then there might be an issue with it. Is it an inquiry based curriculum? Students learn best by asking questions. We understand that. We have young children from the age of 2 years old up to third, fourth grade. And in that early education setting, they're asking questions all the time. Why does this work? How does this work? That's great. We want a curriculum that kind of goes with that and answers those questions. So a curriculum, say for instance, that doesn't just teach about dinosaurs, but may ask the question of why did dinosaurs go away? That's a huge question. It's up for a lot of debate. We can understand that there's different ways to look at that. Instead of saying we're going to do Space Week, an inquiry question is how does the sun work? Again, huge question that can be answered throughout the week. So it's an important thing to look for. You want to find the curriculum that is going to emphasize the individual learning of your child, best for their needs, contains assessments to make sure that it's working, and that it has feedback for you as a parent. And if so, you can find those wonderful things, then you're on the right track. The next question to ask are, what are the classroom ratios? And this again goes from early education all the way through elementary school. What are the class ratios? And by that we mean how many students per child can be in the classroom. This is very important, as your local state will deem how many kids they think one individual should be able to watch and attend to. Let's give an example. In the state I'm in, for 2-year-olds, it's one teacher to 8 students. Now, when you're doing a tour or you're looking through a school, when you're walking along with the principal or director and you look into a classroom, do a quick count and then ask them, what is your state ratio? Now, if they say it's 8-to-1 and you're counting 11 kids in the classroom, there's an issue. So then you want to ask them, what do you have in place to ensure that your teachers are operating in ratio? For instance, the school that I'm at has an electronic system. As each child is checked in, it gives us an indicator in red if a classroom is going over in ratio. That way we can quickly have another teacher go in to assist the teacher that's in the classroom. But without that in place, you may not know. Some schools actually operate over ratio, and that is a violation of state licensing. If they do that, there is an issue. So make sure you check your ratios. Also, ask if your school operates under state ratios. The best way to know that is by going on to the Department of Health and Safety for your state and finding out what the ratios are. So you kind of already have them in mind. Now, if you go into a school where, let's say, a younger children are 6-to-1 ratio, and they say we operate at 5-to-1 ratio, then that lets you know there's a little bit more one-on-one time with the teachers in there, and they have a little bit more supervision in the classroom. It's a good, solid thing to look for. Number 2 on the list, we're getting down to that important number 1. But number 2 on the list is, how do you communicate with parents? Communication needs to be done for many things. Might need to be done for behavioral issues. It might be done for maybe injuries that happen at school. Or if a child is failing in a certain area and the teacher really wants to help support them and build them up. So how do you communicate? Are the parent-teacher conferences? Are you able to have any face-to-face communication? Is there an app? Almost all schools have an app now, and that's great. In the age that we live in, the digital age, messages are often easier received through a text message, some kind of a communication outside of that. A lot of parents are busy at work and they can't answer a phone call, but they can see on their watch that a text pops up that there's an issue and they need to call the school. How do you communicate? Are you able to get a view into your child's day through some kind of app or email that's sent to you that lets you know how your child's day went, some of the things that they've done throughout the day, a record of the different events that happened? And if so, that gives you a good glimpse into how the child's day goes. Is there a picture portfolio, pictures sent home of your child each day or at least weekly so that you can see how your child's progressing in the classroom? Another important. And then can you also communicate on that app? If you call the school, will the director get you in touch with the teacher somehow? Those are all super important things to know, because you want to be able to know that when you leave your child someplace, you can be confident that should anything happen or should you need to get in touch with administration or teachers, that you have free access to that. Never trust a school with a director or administrative staff that does not use an always open door policy. You should be able to go at any time to talk to a director, an assistant director, and find out if there's something that you have a concern about, how it's going to be addressed, or if something great is working and you want to tell them the feedback of, yes, let's have more of this in the school. But the door should always be open. So please look for that for your child. You'll set yourself up for a good situation. Now, on to number 1. All right, so now let's get down to the number 1 thing you need to look for in school, and this is super, super important. Safety. The curriculum is great, the teachers are great, the school itself is great. You might love the playgrounds, you might love the snacks they serve. Everything is fitting in accordance to what you want. except when you ask this question: what safety features do you have in place to ensure my child is safe throughout the day? That covers a wide array of things, so let's talk about what's most important. First of all, visibility. Do not ever enroll your child in a school that has closed doors with no windows in a classroom. First of all, it does not keep your child safe, and it also doesn't keep the teacher safe. Make sure that there's visibility all the time. Now, some schools are getting rid of their cameras in the classroom, and that's because, unfortunately, in the society we live in, some bad things are happening. People are hacking into cameras, and footage of kids in classrooms is making it onto dark webs and other things like that, and we just don't want that. So, if that does occur, make sure there are huge vision windows, as we call them, where a teacher, a director, a parent is able to walk by and clearly see the entire classroom through the window. Also, make sure that you can stop by any time unannounced to check on your child. If they tell you no, that is a big red flag. A school should be running at the highest level possible and invite you to come in at any time to see how your child's doing without having to call or set up an appointment for that. If there's not cameras in the classroom, make sure that they are at least around the school. There should be cameras in the parking lots, there should be cameras in the foyers, on the playgrounds, just to make sure that the school is safe and that the kids have proper supervision at all times. Now, what about the scary stuff that follows that, like active shooter training? Sadly, we live in a day and age where that's something that you necessarily have to look for when finding a school for your child. So ask the question, what do you do to prepare your teachers for active shooter training? Things like, if a bad guy comes into school, what's your lockdown procedure? How is your classroom safe? Where do they put the kids? Is there things in the classroom that can be used to prevent someone from coming in the classroom if necessary? A lot of classrooms, including my school, have flip locks on the door. And these can be quickly flipped when there is a lockdown called to withstand 2,000 pounds of pressure. No one's coming in. Now, you also have to make sure that there is a back exit that can be opened up with a key, because that way the director can get in or somebody else when all of it's done and there's a clear. But until then, we want to make sure our kids are safe inside. Make sure that they're getting the kids out of sight, that they have a place to turn off the lights and hide if they need to. Scary stuff, I know, but stuff that you need to ask when you're a parent. What about fire drills? Look at your state standards for fire drills and make sure that those are being done. My particular state, there has to be one done each month and one done for nap time. So we want to make sure that those are being taken and done properly. The more you practice, the easier it is in case the real thing ever has to happen. Knock on wood, hopefully it never does. Another question you should ask is, how far away are the fire and police stations? How quickly can they get there? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Makes a big difference when finding a safest school for your child. How does your school work with the other places in its community? Other schools, other businesses? If they have somebody come on their property or on their campus that looks like they could be starting trouble and they go into lockdown, they should be giving your school a lockdown call too, saying, hey, we're just trying to be extra safe right now. When you work together with the community, you create this block of eyes looking out for each other to make sure that everybody's safe and sound and the most conducive environment for learning. That is number one. So I hope you take these 5 tips with you when you're looking for a good school, whether it be a preschool, kindergarten, early education school, or elementary school. Take these 5 tips with you and ask them, and you'll make sure that you're putting your child in the safest place possible. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.